Hi party people! Let's redefine the word incel today. Why do we need to do this? First of all, the word incel gets thrown around a lot, and it's usually used for cases of misogyny, but we already have a word for that, misogyny. On the other hand, incels themselves usually say it is exactly what the name stands for: involuntarily celibate. But that's not how language works. You see, if involuntarily celibate stands for I have never had sex, and possibly I have never had romantic relationships, we really wouldn't need a new word for it. We already have single, lonely, forever alone, virgin, what else? Looking for a relationship. Anyway, these words exist. A single virgin will be enough, especially since very often we expect from people to always want to be in relationships. That's the expectation the culture places on us. So simply by default, if you are a single virgin, that would be enough to mean what involuntarily celibate supposedly mean. The words, new terms, new phrases don't always mean the sum of their parts. For example, I will use something where it's very obvious. It's raining cats and dogs. It's an idiom. That means it's raining hard. It's heavy rain. And obviously, despite cats and dogs being in this sentence, we don't expect it to mean that there are actual cats and dogs falling from the sky. Cat distribution system has not evolved this much yet. So what new words and new terms do is that they fill a gap in language. New words appear specifically when there is a new phenomenon that needs to be named and we don't have a name for it. So, again, why do we need to define or redefine it? Because it is used inappropriately. Why does involuntarily celibate not work as a definition for it? Because there are words that would describe the state of this so-called involuntarily celibacy without a new term, and we need for a new word or a new term to appear, we need a gap in the language that new word will fill. Okay, I hope I made it clear. I might not do well at explaining. By the way, I am not including femcells because it's an elusive term, an elusive group of people that rarely get validated, or I just have not encountered them, I think. What differentiates incels from single lonely virgins? So, as you know, the other term for inceldom, I'm not sure, would be black pill. And black pill is a good way to describe it, in a sense that as in Matrix you accept one on or another state of reality for yourself, black pill simply means giving up. And this is the defining feature of inceldom, the feeling of being doomed. Other features of inceldom are the ones that they share with all manosphere fields, communities, whatever we may call them. These rigid ideas that characterize the manosphere would be something like hypergamy. That is the idea that specifically women always try to marry someone of a higher status, and these basically status points get accumulated based on, again, very rigid view on a person's value. Specifically, of course, for a woman and for a man, the value systems are different. So the other idea that is very characteristic of it, and that I'm personally a big hater of, is looks maxim. I genuinely hope that I will get to making a video about it, because the very premise of it is incredibly harmful to people. Anyway, these rigid ideas basically cause people to dehumanize not only women but also everyone around them and even themselves. So from being a person, they turn into a number of assets that all have specific value, instead of just being a person that also holds certain features. For example, if a person is a man, in our discussion, if a man is, say, short, low middle class, maybe specifically non-white, and doesn't have a strong jaw, and the nose is anything that is not something you will see on Instagram in the most generic, soulless content on this earth. Then for each for each feature that is not falling into this, again, very rigid standard of masculinity, of very well performed masculinity. It is a minus point to you, and even people who are successful in this system that assigns values to human beings, they also become just a set of values instead of being a person. So an incel who views himself as someone who has such a low value in these specific systems stops being a person and completely limits his identity to these supposed value that makes it impossible for him to get a partner. And in words they can say like yes, we understand that it's not impossible, it's extremely unlikely, but it's so unlikely it's practically impossible to get a partner, specifically a woman, of course. I've always wondered how incels would react to the idea that there are women who can't get other women, because this is such a common topic in Sapphic communities, so in communities with women that are into other women. And it's not that the ideas they have no basis in reality. There is basis in reality, and if we don't acknowledge that, we will simply further isolate these people. For example, apparently it's true. There's a study that shows that shorter men have, let's say, less happier life. I have checked the study myself. I looked at its methodology, and yes, it's valid. Its sample size is giant. Of course, it's only restricted to one country. I think it's Switzerland. But anyway, it's important that we admit that some people are in fact disadvantaged in dating and in life in general. However, simply being disadvantaged does not end your life. It's not the end of your life. Just because statistics, even if they are true, I must say a lot of statistics they use are not legitimate. And I have a recording about the basis, the original hypergamy OkCupid study explaining what's wrong with it. Anyway, even when there are statistics that are legit, oftentimes the discrepancy, the difference between, say, the most privileged and least privileged layers, people, is not that big. It could be like 0.5% to maybe 30%. It is not as dramatic. And I'm talking about disadvantages in general. So, again, what features characterize incels? They have the same rigid ideas that manosphere shares, and also, of course, other ideas that I've been yapping for way too long to delve into that. But these rigid ideas dehumanize people around them and themselves, and it leads them to believe that they are doomed. And being doomed in romantic life seems to be crucial to them. So, who is an incel? An incel is a person, a man, a member of communities that share the manosphere ideas. We could expand into that, but we won't. And they believe that based on these ideas, they have no chance in romantic life. And this idea of being doomed in specifically romantic and sexual life leads to believing they're doomed in life overall, that there's no meaning in life without being able to have this romance, this romantic love. But why would it be important to redefine it? You see, when we let single men who are virgins identify as members of this specific community, they grow closer with this community that they think they should identify with. And thus, even if they don't share these beliefs yet, they are more likely to get indoctrinated by these ideas. So it's important that we separate incels who are inherently bearers of certain ideas, certain views, and simply single virgin men who want to be loved and just can't find love yet. These are different groups. We should not let them mix up. I have to add that if you start identifying with inceldom before you actually fall into this view, into this worldview. You become a self-fulfilling prophecy. I hope it was somewhat digestible. I think. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you have a good day or week or year. What fuck. Hypergamy. Hypergamy.